Hello, welcome back to another episode. So, my friends, we're talking about games throughout my life and how those my tastes in gaming have changed massively, and in a lot of ways haven't changed at all. So, I grew up without the Saturn, without the PlayStation 1, without the N64, which is quite unusual for someone like me. So someone my age typically would have had one of these growing up. I didn't. My cousins did. My cousins had a PlayStation 1 that was just in our loft for like years, which I wasn't told about. So naturally, when I found the bloody thing, I went, this is mine now. So I grew up alongside alongside 6th gen, so predominantly the original Xbox and the GameCube. Both are still some of my favourite consoles of all time. In fact, they are my favourite consoles of all time. I think the GameCube is still slightly edged out by the original Xbox, just strictly because of how many games I have for that one. But yeah, then, naturally, original Xbox was my first major console. So I shared the GameCube with my sister, and then I moved on to the Xbox. And with the Xbox, I had things like... So, growing up, I had the odd console game. I wasn't, like, swimming in them because they're expensive and I didn't need them, which is saying something nowadays. But, so I had things like Wario World, Pokemon Colosseum, Sonic Adventure, blah, blah, blah. Things like that. And then for the original Xbox, I had things like Halo, Sonic, blah, blah. That's kind of where my tastes were fashioned with the original Xbox predominantly. Because that led me into my teenage years. So in my teenage years, it was things like Halo, and almost strictly Halo, because I moved on to the 360. I moved on to the 360, I got Gears of War, I got Bioshock, and that's sort of what has fashioned my taste in games since then. So it's things like Bioshock, Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 was a big one. Lost Planet 2. So I remember a time, 2010, where I was spoiled for choice. So there were things coming out like Bayonetta, which I still love Bayonetta, but even Bayonetta's been tainted by 3 and its mere existence. I hate 3. But I also had, you know me, I like the weird games, so I had things like Overlord. But I was getting into things like Metal Gear Solid Rising, and shooters, and sort of edgy, hardcore metal, blah, blah, blah. But I was actually spoiled for choice with things like Left 4 Dead, with Lost Planet 2. So Lost Planet 2 came out, and so did Crackdown 2, and so did Supreme Commander 2. And I remember being in-game going, which one do I get? So I only had enough money per month to buy one game, and I was umming and ahhing, do I get this? Do I get that? Do I get that? Ended up getting Lost Planet 2 first. Do not regret it. Very good game. Very, very, very good game. Very solid game. Lot of fun. And that's what gaming was for me for, I'd argue, from 2007 until 2013, it was shooters. Shooters. It was not so much Wolfenstein, but it was things like Bioshock 1, Bioshock Infinite in particular, I still go back to. Lost Planet 1, Lost Planet 2, Crackdown 2. Lots of different games. And then the Xbox One comes out. And it spits in the face of everything I liked about the 360, which was a nice balance between offline gameplay and online gameplay. You had the arcade, you had Xbox Live Arcade that was great, you had these Summer of Arcade events where they pump out this, that and the other. Now, I'm aware that the PS3 has more exclusives on it by a massive margin. In fact, pretty much all of my PS3 collection is exclusives. So, yes. Now, bearing in mind you did have things like Lost Planet 1, I think, for a while. Bioshock, Mass Effect 1. I don't think the original Assassin's Creed. I have to check that. But
Oblivion? No.
you had a lot of really good opening stuff. A lot of really good opening exclusives from Microsoft. They didn't keep that up, though. The only exclusives they went on were Halo, which, don't get me wrong, Halo 3, Halo Wars, Halo Reach, Halo 3 ODST, Halo 4, I guess Anniversary, as awful as that remaster is. You had all of these games, and it was a case of Halo coming out like once a year, or twice a year in some cases, and that was cool. But that was it. And it sort of filtered out towards the end of the generation. We started off the new one. So Microsoft come in and go, right, cool. Hey guys, here's our new console that's online only, has a mandatory connect that you have to keep connected to for the whole fucking time. It will record you while you sleep. And you can't use you can't trade a game to a friend. You have to pay to play a disc. And everyone went, okay, go fuck yourself. And it was that collective idiot who was, and he is an idiot. He's the biggest collective dumbass I have seen attempting to run a games company since maybe some of Sega's general incompetence throughout the late 90s, where I went, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with Xbox. And here's the kicker. I've been done with Xbox for 12 years. I've been done with Xbox since 2013. I signed out. I still bought games while they were being made for the 360. Things like Stick of Truth, Wolfenstein. But that was it. That was all that was coming out. And I went, right, I need a new console. So I turned to Nintendo. And here's the kicker. I haven't really looked back. So, I got the Wii U. I love the Wii U a lot. I think it's great. I actually think the Switch's library doesn't cater to my very weird tastes as much as the Wii U does. But it had things like Bayonetta. It had Smash 4, Mario Kart 8, Pikmin 3, which I ended up hating, but you know that at the time. Wonderful 101. Hyrule Warriors as well. And that's kind of where I went, I think my tastes have changed. So I started moving into things like, I still had some of the usual. So I had Bayonetta. I had Wonderful 101. I had the weird stuff and the stuff that I'd sort of grown up with from Platinum in general. Well, I said grown up with throughout my teenage years. Like, you know, I love most of Platinum's early work. I don't actually like a lot of their later work. I think it's bad. I think they fell off a lot for me. It was actually Nier. I didn't buy Nier. They were going to release Scalebound. Scalebound got cancelled. So, that's when I traded in my Xbox One for the first time. And then I bought another one. I traded that in again several years later. And now I have one. That if Halo or Gears get announced for this thing, the PS5, I will be moving on. Or the Switch too. Because I think I mentioned last week, I have a pre-order. Very expensive. Prohibitively. We'll talk about that when it comes out. I'm going to talk about the Switch too. Because I have a unique situation with that for somebody who's collected games for quite as long as I have. But we'll get to that. So, that leads us to today. So, I sailed through the Wii U and a lot of its crap. Star Fox. I sailed through a lot of its garbage towards the latter half of its lifespan, which is a shame. But I found I really liked Hyrule Warriors to the point where when the Switch 2 announced that they were going to have another one, even though I have absolutely no interest in Tears of the Kingdom whatsoever, I'll buy it. I had the same with Breath of the Wild. I hate that game with a passion because fuck weapon degradation. It is a bad mechanic universally. Go fuck yourselves. If the next one has it, I'm just... well, the next one did have it. It had weapon degradation, so I was like, okay, because I'm not buying Tears of the Kingdom, even though it's just basically Gmod. But I bought Age of Calamity. I'm going to be buying Age of Imprisonment. It fueled that for me. So I have Wind Waker on the Wii U. It plays really well. I've played a massive amount of it, which is more than I can say for any other Zelda game. I don't like Zelda. Yet I like Hyrule Warriors, and I like Wind Waker. So, mixed bag. That leads us to today. So that leads us to the Switch. That leads us to the PS5. Because I thought, hey, I need a console for getting AAA games, and I've got my basic handheld. So, yes. Where are we with, say, the Switch? Now, the Switch didn't have quite as many exclusives as the Wii U that I liked. So, for example, Splatoon, Captain Toad, Hyrule Warriors. A lot of stuff that was started on the Wii U that sort of spirit of let's make some weird shit didn't continue onto the Switch too. So when I got ARMS, which I love, this was exactly what I was looking for, and it's a fucking boxing fighting game. If you watched my video last week on Neo Geo, I hate fighting games. There's only one that I can actually tangentially get on board with that isn't ARMS, and that's fucking Smash Bros. And that's just because Smash Bros is accessible. I don't think other fighting games are. They're not accessible. They have quite a high skill ceiling. If you're crap, you're crap. And it takes you a very long time to learn. Then each one has different intricacies and blah, blah, blah. It's all about reaction time, which has never been my strong suit in games, so they can fuck off. And even then, I'm pretty good at Smash. At least amongst my friends. Not competitively. But yeah, so ARMS was that sort of spirit of, it's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. What's going on there? And I've always had that. I've had that with Overlord. I've had that with... what I might do next week is weird games from the 6th gen, because I think that'll be a good topic. I grew up on that experimentation. From the original Xbox, I ended up getting Munch's Odyssey. I ended up getting things like that. You don't see that as much nowadays. Yet, I've latched onto series that have been around for a very long time because of one good game. I think Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is fantastic, and I'm going to be honest with you, if another one comes out, I'm getting it. I think it's going to be great. My favourite game of last year was Unicorn Overlord, which is a tactical RPG. My 5th favourite game of all time is Triangle Strategy, another tactical RPG. That's not a genre I picked up on until I picked up Fire Emblem in 2014, and even then, I went on a massive 6-year gap between the two Fire Emblem games I bought until I picked up Three Houses in 2020. And you know what? I love Three Houses. I think it's great. It's my favourite Fire Emblem, which is why Engage was such a disappointment. I won't get into that. My point is, what used to be a very shooter-dominated space for me isn't anymore. It's not very shooter-dominated. If anything, the shooters we have been getting are, well, they're Doom-inspired. It's all fast movement, basically no story worth listening to. Silent protagonists and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? That's dull. I hate boomer shooters, in a way. For that, I think they're generic. I think they are typically very boring. With the shooters that I grew up on, you had to be innovative. You did. You had to have a unique setting. You had to have powers to go along with it. You had to change things up, or you had to be very good at multiplayer to even compete. I mean, look at Halo. Halo comes out and goes, hey, here's this massive sandbox that's a lot of fun and really engaging. And it's like, cool. And, yeah. Here's Inversion, which is a Gears of War inspired clone. with gravity manipulation. Here is Time Shift, which is a game that pretty much exclusively relies on your ability to pause and slow down and rewind time, which is cool. And it's terrible, but my point still stands. You had to change things up. That isn't there in shooters anymore. It's either Call of Duty or Doom. And that's it. There's no space for things like Halo. Hell, even fucking Halo. Halo Infinite has turned into trash. It's turned into absolute trash because it doesn't have room to be itself. And the fact that the original Bungie was lightning in a bottle. But hell, look at Destiny. Any shooter nowadays has to be massively multiplayer online only, or it has to have absolutely no multiplayer whatsoever, and it has to be inspired by Doom. And fuck Doom. I hate Doom. I do hate Doom. I hate Doom a lot. I've never been able to get into Doom, which is a shame. I mean, hell, my second favourite game of last year was Astrobot. It was Astrobot, which, let's be honest, is amazing. But it's a third-person platformer. I'm not a third-person platformer kind of guy. It has to be peak, as the kids say, which is horrifying. But it has to be good. It has to be outstanding for me to even go, yeah, okay. And even then, I only got this because I saw it and I went, wow, that looks fantastic. Hell, getting on to my favourite game of this year, Plucky Squire, so far. Admittedly, there's a lot of Switch 2 stuff coming out, so fingers crossed. But even on the Switch 2, the 5 games I was excited by are Donkey Kong, a 3D Donkey Kong platformer, largely because you break and blow stuff up, which is awesome. Mario Kart World, which is too expensive, by the way, Nintendo, fuck you. Age of Imprisonment, which is a holdover from the Wii U, for me, at the very least. Dragon Drive to a lesser degree, and damn, what was the other one? Because there was a 5th one. Oh, Kirby Air Riders. They made a sequel to Kirby's Air Ride on the GameCube. The fuck. But that's cool. And that's my point. I'm excited by a kart racer. I'm excited by racing games. My tastes have evolved, and I'm hoping, to be honest, once I flipped over to Nintendo, I haven't regretted it since. I think the only thing I really kind of regret is there aren't as many Switch games that kind of chase that weirdness that came with, you know what it is? The Wii U's like the GameCube. Highly experimental in a lot of different ways. Games like Cubivore, Doshin the Giant, Luigi's Mansion. With the Wii U, it's things like Super Mario 3D World, Hyrule Warriors. Hell, fucking even Star Fox is experimental in a bad way, but it was experimental. It was out there. The Switch didn't really have that, so I'm kind of hoping that the Switch 2 will sort of be along the same lines as the Wii U and the GameCube, but with the success that came with the Switch. And don't get me wrong, I love triangle strategy, as I do. But it is let's be perfectly honest, it is a tactical RPG first and foremost, and more importantly, it's a tactical RPG that's pretty, it's not even by the numbers, it's just kind of it can be quite difficult to get into. Unicorn Overlord, which I do have on Switch. I only bought this the other day because I wanted it again. To be honest, I really, really did. I really did want this again because I really like this game. I really like it. I really like this game. So, yeah, I think that's it. Game tastes change, and it can be something as simple as switching platforms. I'll be honest with you, I tried to jump on PS4. I couldn't get into things like Horizon. I couldn't get into things like God of War. I don't like God of War. I appreciate it as a story. I think its gameplay is shocking. It's meandering and way too long Like both games are very long. But that's the kicker. Once I'd watched a playthrough of God of War 4, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to watch another one. I don't need to play it. I've tried to play it, and I got bored. It's the same with Ragnarok. And here's the kicker. I didn't watch a playthrough for that. I still got bored. I still got really bored because the combat is just dull as dishwater. Yet, they come out and go, hey, Nintendo. And I go, cool, Nintendo. And that's the thing. Like, the new Horizon, don't care. If, hell, some of Sony's offerings in the near future, I don't care. The PS5's launch lineup, don't care. Switch 2 comes out, announces 5 games I want instantly. And I go, okay, I guess I'm buying that. And I did, the following day. So, literally the day after they announced it, pre-ordered it on Argos. Then I found out that Argos was potentially losing out a lot of money by not having the stock actually allocated. And then I went down to my local Currys, pre-ordered it, and I'm one of the first 5 people to have done so, which is great. I think I might be in the first, 20, and there's 10,000 units allocated for Currys across the UK, I think. And then there's 300 stores, so it's a good chunk coming in. But yeah, either way, not bad. So that's me done for another week, guys. As I said, probably talk about top. Yeah, maybe I'll go over each of the games. Libraries of the 6th gen, so Dreamcast, GameCube, PS2, and original Xbox. Find some weird shit that maybe you've not heard of. Probably have if you've dug around on the internet at all. A lot of stuff has come out recently. I can guarantee you've probably not heard of one of those that I'm going to pick out because I've already thought of it. But yeah, until then, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.